off on a walk over my lunch break, and so I thought I would give you a little bit of a tour of the property as best I can, while also having the dog on a leash, which we have to do because he runs off to visit the neighbors. We thought he was visiting the neighbor's dog, and then we found out that the neighbor gives him cheese and crackers. So of course he goes over there to get treats. He is the most food motivated dog ever. He's about like the cows down there with their cattle cubes. So you have seen it before. Well, maybe you haven't seen the mallard. So behind me is the travel trailer. It's a 26-foot 2000 mallard, Fleetwood mallard, and we spend weekends here. We purchased it about 5 years ago to go on camping trips with my parents, and then it's been parked here since 2018 when we bought the place. We actually parked in a local RV park for the first couple of months until we got hookups. So we ran electricity and water to the camper once we got our well put in, and our electric, which is what we did first. So our camper has power, it has well water hooked up to it, and it's been a great little place to stay. You can see my Subaru Outback, which was actually a newer purchase too. Great mileage for the long trips down here. So that's where we stay on the weekends, where we have been staying for the last 3.5 years on weekends. So behind me here is our DIY tiny house guest cottage, which I have given some tours of, and we'll have lots of progress coming. That was a 12 by 32 cabin shell that we ordered from Lone Star Structures here in Texas. So that is not too far from the camper, and we have this entire half-acre fenced in. So this was what we fenced in and thinking it would be our eventual home site, and we'll get to where our home is actually going to be. Right now the fence is down because we had to make room for them to be able to do the septic. So that is the latest and greatest of what's going on here at the homestead. I am standing in front of our future leach field. So we were excited that the guys at C2 Septic could get our project started this week. He's waiting on a tank to come in, so we don't have our tank yet, so that's why we have the holes dug. We have to be super careful with the dogs, but we are excited to have the tank coming in, and hopefully they're going to finish that project this week. So yeah, as we keep going, I'm nearing the back side of our property, and on this top level, and I say top because we've got some of our outbuildings, our camper, our tiny house, our future home right behind me. We estimate this section of the property to be about maybe 6 or 7 acres. There's 20 acres total, and it's kind of divided into 3 strips. So we have the acreage up top here, and then we have the middle that we call no man's land because it drops off and it's pretty rocky and just really overgrown, so we don't really use that. And then at the bottom we have our acreage, which is probably 6 or 7 total. We have 5.5 acres that we fenced in for the cows, and I'm sure the cows will make plenty of appearance. We've got our new calf named Quinn, and then we have a new calf due hopefully the beginning of April. And yeah, excited. You look behind us, just nothing but rolling hills and some scrubby cedar, but we love the view. If you look closely, you might see Ryan's boot wall there. He has put his old boots, he retires them to the top of our fence posts. So he's got all kinds of good stories as to why that is. Changes by the day. From the backside of all of our improvements, there's just one long strip of grass and trees, and this is mine and the dog's favorite little path to walk on. It's not my favorite spot on the property, but we enjoy this little, especially in the spring when this is all green and the dogs like it because there's an armadillo or two that live there in that brush. So they get really excited when they hear a noise. Since this isn't quite as interesting of a stretch, I do want to give a little shout out to this farm wife, Meredith Bernard. I'm wearing my Spread Butter Not Hate shirt today, which my husband actually bought for me because he knows I am all about compassion and courage. I run my own business called The Brave Kind, and so this is perfect for me, and I love that Meredith spreads positivity in this way too. Now I'm at the northeast corner of our property, and behind me, kind of that direction, is the owners that we purchased the land from. So they have a home that they stay at full-time now. They did the same as we did. They were coming down on weekends only. They were working on their place, and they actually had a different piece of property kind of up the hill, being pulled by the dog here. Something smells good, I'm sure. It is skunk mating season, so that's been challenging and fun. And so, yeah, the neighbors sold us part of their property, and they still live there, and their grandkids live on the other side. So that's really fun to have this family with, keeping an eye out on our place when we're not here, on us, and just having someone so important when you're out in the middle of nowhere to have somebody you can rely on in case of emergencies. So we appreciate that family is spread out along here, and we've made friends at the other end of the property too, or the other end of the road. So yeah, that's what we love about the community. We've always had great neighbors, even when we were in the city. So it's nothing different about that in terms of small town or rural life, but we're glad that we were able to make those same kind of connections here in the country. Cookie's gonna wander off and visit her cows. She seems to think that they're her playmates, and they'll come up and get nose to nose with her, and yeah, there she does her little hop, thinking that they're gonna play. They don't really know what to think about her, but Lottie definitely had her backing off when she would get too close to Quinn. And then Cooper sometimes decides that he's going to react to them, even though he's definitely become conditioned, and we're happy about that. Also, Cookie has kind of a horrible, disgusting habit of eating cow poop. So there's that. Hey, cows. I will pause here for a minute and show you our corral and cattle chute. We'll give some more detail at some point, but we built all of that ourselves, and it was a lot of work, and we had to do it much faster than we expected because we learned that, well, Quinn came at Thanksgiving, and we knew we'd have to give him some vaccinations, although Dexter are so small that he can run right through the head gate even on the smallest setting. So that's been interesting, but we put it together. We had a ton of panels that Ryan had found when they were disassembling the parking in the parking lot, the shopping cart lanes for Atwoods. And so they made him a crazy deal, and we had all of these big giant corral panels. I think we got a bunch of 14-foot and some 10-foot for a crazy price. So always good to try to look for deals, ask around, salvage whatever you can. And so all we had to pay for was a couple of the corral panels that we put in here and the wood that it took to make the sweep. And then we have the railroad ties that we built, the actual chute with the head gate at the end. So again, another project to go over in more detail another day when maybe Ryan can walk you through that, or I can pretend to be the stressed out cow, because goodness knows we have run it through a couple of times and it works pretty well. But yeah, they do not love it. Now what they do love is cattle cubes in that trough right there. So that is the way to lure them in. Quinn, after being vaccinated, had just decided that he never wants to set foot in this pen again. So that's going to be interesting when he needs his next round of vaccinations. Here's a little bit better of a view from the front. So they go in, they eat the cattle cubes, they get pinned in there, and then we run them through a sweep and into the chute, and then there's the head gate. And like I said, they're at the very opposite end because we don't have any hay in this hay ring right now, but they do have another shelter down here. And this is the very back of our property. So there's fence line along there and the neighbor with the really cute red roof house that doesn't actually live there anymore, but runs their cattle. And then there is a dividing line here, so there is another property that starts back here, but all big cattle properties behind us. We gave them plenty over the weekend, and I'll give them some again before I leave. But yeah, I love coming down and seeing the cows. We have the new calf, Quinn, and then that's Lottie's little calf, and then Lilac is due, we think, in April, although the vet was a little off on Quinn because Dexters are such a small breed that he thought she wasn't quite as far along as she was. So it's a guessing game with Lilac too. Sometimes we walk the full length of the perimeter around the cattle pasture, and then sometimes we pop up here on the right, which is probably the route we'll take because I got to get back for a meeting. It's really nice to take meetings from out here. The Wi-Fi is not great, but it does the trick. And then this is what this is the other end of no man's land. So just really thick brush, old trees that have died out. People like to call trash trees. And so they're pretty invasive, and then they just die and bring up new trees. So we may or may not clear it out. We know there's deer that wander through here and birds and all kinds of wildlife. So we're okay with having a little haven for bunnies and deer, and that helps us get our wildlife exemption. Side view of no man's land. Lots of prickly pear, which I love how they bloom in the spring and then put on the tunas in the summer. I have collected those before and juiced them, but I never ended up making jelly. So one of these days, oh, and it probably didn't show up on video, but there's a cardinal after I'm sitting here talking about the wildlife in the brush. So yeah, I have seen, might not show up, but we've got our buzzard friends up there. I've seen loggerhead shrikes. I've seen sparrows that are migrating through, and we've definitely seen some rabbits through here. Probably a little evidence of one of our armadillo friends. And as we come up the hill, this is the little shortcut from the pasture up to our main living area. So through that little archway is the Mallard camper, the tiny house over here to the right. I'm gonna let Cooper pull me up the hill. There goes Cookie. Everybody probably needs a drink of water. I didn't spend a lot of time on it, but we do have the barns over there that one was a big 3-stall pole barn that got wiped out by winds our first summer. So we rebuilt that little tractor port with no walls, just as cover for our heavy equipment. So that's it. So that's a quick tour of the place. We absolutely love it, and we can't wait to share it with other people.